I think there's a very big role here for elders. And I say over and over, when you achieve the status of an elder, you're now freed from the kind of pressures of testosterone or power or fame or money. Those drive people in their younger days, and it tends to affect the way that you do things. But when you become an elder, you're freed of those constraints, and you can now look back on your life and try to glean some things that you want to pass on. So I feel this is the most important point in my life, that I want to try to summarize something to pass on. And the most powerful or influential group in the peace movement, when there were veterans against nuclear arms, the most powerful group among them were retired admirals and generals against nuclear war, because they'd been through the system. They had to play the game while they were still in it, but once they retired, they could speak the truth, and they could tell it like it is. So I keep emphasizing, I'm in the death zone, but so are every one of you who's an elder. Now get on with the most important part of your life. It's not just being able to go out and go golfing every day. It's being able to summarize what you've learned and pass that knowledge and experience on. Whatever happens or doesn't happen in the next few years is going to have virtually no impact on my life. I'm at the end of my life. But what is or is not done now will reverberate through the lives of our children, our grandchildren, and their grandchildren. So it's really important that we as elders transmit what the changes have been in our lifetime and the urgency of acting now. I believe that the deliberate ignoring of the information scientists have given to us, the denial of the reality of the information they're getting and the quality of that information, and the refusal to act on that is criminal. It's an intergenerational crime. In the name of progress or economic growth, now we are creating problems that are becoming all the more vast for our children and grandchildren. And our big failure has been, as environmentalists, to tie the economy into the environment. You see, the word economy comes from the same root word as ecology. Ecos is the Greek word meaning household or domain. Ecology is the study of home. Economics is the management of home. Now, what ecologists try to do is find out what are the conditions and principles that allow a species to survive and flourish. Not a bad bit of information. You would have thought any group in society would say, oh, wait, before we start this program, ask those ecologists, what were those principles and conditions? Because we don't want to violate any of those. Those are the key that keep us alive and surviving. But no, we elevate the economy above ecology. We say, as our Prime Minister has said now for 5 years, we can't do anything about climate change. It'll destroy the economy. So the economy comes above the very atmosphere that keeps us alive. Over 40% of Canadians aren't voting. You don't have a democracy anymore. We have this crazy system of first past the post, so that someone can get elected when only 55-60% of the public votes, and with 38-39% of that vote, you can become the government. We've got to have more involvement of people. We've got to have more indication that we want our politicians to take this issue seriously. My whole thrust has been to try to get people to realize that that environmentalism is not a profession. It's not a discipline. It's a way of seeing the world. And what environmentalism does is it says, look, we're a biological organism. We're an animal. And as animals, if we don't have clean air, clean water, clean soil to give us our food, and clean energy that comes from the sun, we're toast. We're dead. So when you realize that these are our most fundamental needs, then all of the discussions about we've got to get these corporations to invest more money and blah, 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 all of that is, all right, fine, but as long as whatever we do doesn't disrupt or alter those fundamental needs. And right now, we don't see that. And so, it doesn't matter who you elect, whether you're NDP or whether you're... they're going to continue to use air, water, and soil as a garbage can to destroy biodiversity at a horrifying rate. So it's a fundamental value shift, and that is so hard to do. And so the way I do it now is I say, look, when an adult has gone to school and got an education, get a job, buy a house, get married, have kids, and environmentalists come along and say, you got to change, they get mad. And I understand that. They've spent a lot of their lives getting to a comfortable place. But they have one vulnerability. They love their children. So if children understand what's going on and begin to say, Mom and Dad, look, I'm really worried. I don't think any parent cannot become an eco-warrior. Someone asked me a while ago, a journalist, well, what do you want people to say about you after you're dead? He didn't say it that way. After you're gone, he said. And I was astounded. I said, look, after I'm dead, I don't give a shit what people say about me, whether it's good or bad. I couldn't care. I'm going to be dead. There is a sense now of urgency. We've been pushing this. I got involved after I read Rachel Carson's book. That's over almost 50 years now. And we've been pushing this issue, and now we're losing big time. And the message that I've been saying now for years and years is so simple, and yet it's not getting through. And that's where, I am not so conceited that I think I'm so important. If I don't do it, well, it's the end of the world. I'm one person. But we, as a group of people committed to trying to protect a future for our children, are now failing very, very big time. And that makes me very sad, because I have grandchildren who I absolutely adore. And I know that the world that they're going into is a very uncertain one. We don't talk about climate change anymore. It's called climate chaos. We have no way of knowing what's going to happen. But we've upset the very chemistry of the atmosphere. And the consequences of that are going to be enormous. The biosphere cannot support the depredation of our species now. We've become a geological force. And so many of my colleagues and people I respect, Jim Lovelock, who first coined the term Gaia, Clive Hamilton in Australia, environmental philosopher, they're saying it's too late, that we've passed too many tipping points, and that we can't go back. And even if we pull back, it's too late. My response to that is, if you really believe that, please shut up and go away. It doesn't do any good to say it's too late, because then, it doesn't matter what people do. You have to infuse people with a sense of hope, but not kind of an airy-fairy idea, oh yeah, you have to hope, but a real sense that we don't know enough. We're not smart enough to say it's too late. And I'll tell you, I love the fact that I can give a concrete example to give us hope. The most prized salmon species in the world is a sockeye salmon. Bright red, fatty flesh. The biggest sockeye run in the world is in the Fraser River, British Columbia. And you well know that 2 years ago, we got just over 1 million sockeye salmon coming back. And quite frankly, I was ready to write a requiem for the sockeye salmon in the Fraser. I thought that's it. There should have been tens of millions coming back. 1 year later, we get the biggest sockeye salmon run in 100 years. Nobody has a clue what the hell went on. I don't think the sockeye are out of trouble, but nature shocked us. And I think there are lots of surprises that are possible if we can just pull back and give nature a chance. My hope is that when I'm on my deathbed, that my family will be gathered, and I'll be able to look at each of my grandchildren and say I did the best I could. I don't expect to save the world, but I'll do everything I can until I die.